Well, welcome to Monster Island. I'm, of course, your host for the evening, Dragon M. There's a slim chance that the lore seeker himself joins us shortly. But tonight, it's going to be a little bit different than the content you're used to from us. Normally, we focus on lore breakdowns. We don't get into a lot of external stuff on the channel, but a friend of mine, actually cousin, that you'll meet in just a few minutes, he had the idea of he's never watched the original 1954 Godzilla. And I feel like that is just quintessential for being any bit of a remote fan of Godzilla. Not that we're gatekeeping or anything, but 1954 is an awfully crucial movie. So he watched that for the first time recently, and we're going to have a little discussion about 1954. We're going to discuss all your typical things, your favorite characters, stuff we like from the soundtrack, favorite part, maybe even things we don't like about the movie, which what is there not to like about 1954 Gojira? But hey, to each their own, right? So we're going to be bringing him in momentarily. I just want to welcome everybody to the channel tonight. If you're here, feel free to comment. If you want to follow along and if you want to answer any of the questions that we're discussing, we'll put your comment on the screen. We'll engage with you. And if you come back and you watch this after the stream is over, welcome. Glad that you're here after the fact, days, hours, weeks, months, years later, whatever. Welcome. Sorry you couldn't be here live, but if you're watching it at all at any time later, we appreciate that too because it still helps out the channel. So at this point, we're gonna go ahead and bring in my friend Ryan. So hold on one second. I'm great, not a great streamer, guys. We obviously live stream a lot. I'm usually a guest, so you're gonna have to forgive us as we work out the kinks. But as promised, here is Ryan. I'm gonna go ahead and let him introduce himself.
Hey, DragonM, how's it going? I'm going to do my best to call you that. That's not what I'm familiar calling you. So I am going to do my best to call you DragonM tonight. But I'm Ryan. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me on. And let's talk some Godzilla, man.
Dude, absolutely. So, as I stated a minute ago, Ryan is a friend of mine, but we're actually cousins by marriage. Kind of met randomly, of course, through that. And Ryan's a huge movie buff. I know a lot of the same stuff I am, sports, and we just kind of hit it off. So we're bros now. It's official. And Ryan is a huge movie dude. Ryan, how many movies did you see in theaters in 2024? You want to run that by us? It's a pretty impressive number.
2024, I think, was only 60 something. The year before, 2023, I actually watched 102, which is kind of how I got into Godzilla. I know we'll get into that in a minute, but
I'm familiar with the story, but I'm excited to share it with everybody else. Like I said, we got stuff to get into, but it's a live stream, so we might as well fill some time talking. As far as the comments, look at that. Lore Seeker himself is here. Hello there.
What's up, Lore Seeker? How's it going?
General Lore Seeker, you are a bold one. There's a slim chance we bring him in to talk and BS with us for a few minutes.
Heck yeah.
And then Ryan himself supporting from his private account while we're watching. So you can see Ryan's got a couple movie things in the background. He's a dude. And you want to run us through some of the stuff you got in your background there, Ryan? And let's just talk about that.
Yeah, I can. So actually, we have a lot of Mountain Dew things. I have a podcast called The Question at Hand that I did with a bunch of my buddies, and we got into like ranking Mountain Dew for a little while. That podcast is kind of on hiatus. So there's a bunch of Mountain Dew things behind us. I think there's actually a shelf here, and then I moved a bunch to the bottom. So I think we tried 70 something Mountain Dew flavors and counting. Oh yes, man. You'd be surprised how many there are out there. In fact, I think it was for our 4 or 5 year anniversary special. We did like a big Mountain Dew ranking deal. And I think we tried like 40 or 50 during that alone. So that was a lot of fun. And I have my Godzilla -1 like collector's edition back here, which is freaking cool. Yes. There's I think back here I have a little Godzilla -1 like figurine. It's real small.
Yeah, I see him up there. Yeah,
it's still a tag on it. I was kind of debating like, do I want to take the tag off before we start this? I decided I'm just going to leave it there. And then back here I have my Godzilla Criterion set. This is a ping pong picture that one of my friends gifted me as kind of a joke for like a Christmas swap we did. It looks like it came from like a college rec room or something. And then I'm a big fan of Kangaroo Jack, if you can't tell by the Mylar poster that I have back here in a light box.
Crikey.
Yeah, big fan of that. I know that one is one that is like really crapped on by critics, but you know, it's one of my childhood favorites. So
critics can kick rocks. Honestly, they're paid. I mean, they're not paid to be negative, but it's kind of part of the job. I remember
Yeah.
seeing Kangaroo Jack in theaters with some family members of mine. The movie's crazy, dude.
Yeah. It's super fun.
Ebola Ball. I mean, I know I've
Uh-huh.
watched it in years. I know all about
Uh-huh.
it.
Yeah, dude, it's so fun. We actually watched it a couple years ago, like outside on a projector for my birthday. So
Okay, that's fun.
it was pretty cool. Yeah, enjoyed it. But
So me and Ryan don't live super close together, but we get together every now and then. But thanks to the miracles of technology, here we are. Once again, our gracious, I would say the channel overlord, the brand keeper of Lore Seeker himself, Star Wars Lore Seeker. He's having dinner and watching talking Godzilla with us. And as far as Mountain Dew is concerned, I gotta agree with him. Halo 3 Game Fuel was the greatest Mountain Dew ever made. I'm gonna go ahead and say it.
what flavor was Halo 3 Game Fuel?
I'd have to go look it up, but I know there's some orange involved. It was
Okay.
delicious. I remember it
Okay.
had some cherry going on, but
They
it
brought back some
was
Game Fuel recently.
oh yeah. Now I remember when they did World of Warcraft. I used to play a lot of World of Warcraft. You're talking to a resident tank, or no, a hunter. I was a hunter. I enjoyed a little hunter action.
Okay.
And I remember when they did Alliance versus Horde Mountain Dew Game Fuel. That stuff was also fantastic. So yeah, well, okay. So behind me, I've got a couple of. So this is my like home work office. We're not gonna talk about what we do for a living because privacy matters, right? But I'm a big Star Wars fan. You tell I got a couple things. I've got more Godzilla stuff, but as y'all can tell, I don't have an office or a camera or lighting set up for streaming purposes. The light you're seeing is a lamp that I brought in from my living room
Let's
because
go.
we got in the backstage studio like 30 minutes ago and it was dark in here. I said, well, this is garbage. So, we'll upgrade it in the future if y'all like the live streams, or if you like them a lot, I'll probably upgrade them. We'll do them anyways. Citrus cherry. It was a citrus cherry. So I was right.
Okay. I'm pretty
was
sure
so
Citrus
good.
Cherry they actually might still have out. It was one they brought back as like a regular old Game Fuel flavor, I think last year.
Last year it was still the Halo 3. It was the Game Fuel and it was a citrus cherry. It just didn't have the Halo 3 branding. It was really incredible. I'd recommend it if you find it. So behind me, obviously, big Star Wars guy, connection with Star Wars Lore Seeker. Duh. It's not like I know him or anything. He's a cool fella. Empire Strikes Back, one of my favorite Star Wars movies. Godzilla Final Wars. Somewhat hated or made fun of by some Godzilla fans, but you can absolutely get off my stoop if you don't like Final Wars. It is fun. It is the embodiment of campy Godzilla films. Got a couple little figurines. I don't do a lot of collecting because collecting is expensive, but I got a couple back here. You can't see them well. Football helmets, big sports guy, and then got a couple of little Funko Pops up there on the shelf. Got a couple more up here, but I didn't have time to display them all. I'm not going to rearrange.
What kind of Funko
office.
Pops you got back there?
Oh my gosh! Well, let's see. I have Revenge of Godzilla, 1984, 1985.
Okay.
It is the one closest to this side. And then we got Millennium Godzilla going that way, original OG Mecha Godzilla, and then the 1954 Godzilla pop. That's a line they just recently came out with. Was a handful of those.
That's
some
cool.
Exclusives and stuff like that. I've got a lot of Funkos. I might have a problem, honestly. If you know anybody wanting to buy some older ones, I've got some I want to get rid of. So hit me up. None of them.
Do you have a Vin Diesel? I might take you up on that if you have like a Vin Diesel Fast and Furious one.
I have no Vin Diesel, but I do have Paul Walker's Skyline GTR from Too Fast, Too Furious on Lego model on my shelf up here.
Ooh, that's I think Too Fast, Too Furious is the most underrated.
Too Fast, Too Furious is absolutely incredible. I gotta answer a message here real quick, if y'all will just pardon me, and then I think we're gonna go ahead and get into a couple of questions here. And actually, no, matter of fact, while I'm answering this message here, Ryan, I'm going to go ahead and let you take over. You said that last year you watched 120 some odd.
That was 2023. Yeah.
2023.
I watched 102 movies in theaters.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. I had so the reason was I had a goal that year to watch 52 movies because I have AMC stubs and we were going quite a bit. And I think I had missed 52 by like 6 maybe the year before. And so I had a goal for 2023. That was like a New Year's resolution of mine, was to watch 52 movies in theaters, which would be like 1 a week. And you can watch 3 movies a week with AMC stubs. So I got to 52 like the second week of August. So at that point I was like, well, let's see if I can get to 100. And then I proceeded to watch another 50 movies in like 4 months. So I was hitting it pretty hard there towards the end of 2023.
I am jealous because I don't think we have an AMC close to where I'm at to where I can justify doing that. And but man, that's incredible. So I do know that one of the movies that you caught in the process of all this crazy movie watching happened to be Godzilla minus one.
It was, yeah.
And yeah, so why don't you go and give us a quick thing on that about how Godzilla minus one might or might not have hooked you on watching other movies of, with the king in it.
Yeah, Godzilla minus one definitely got me the Godzilla bug. So I can't remember what year did Godzilla versus Kong come out?
Godzilla versus Kong was 21.
Okay, so that was like sometime after COVID. I remember that like
Correct.
coming out on HBO Max, which RIP, it's just Max now.
Just nice.
But on HBO Max, Godzilla versus Kong was like a highlighted movie. I'd never seen any of them before, like any King Kong, any Godzilla, nothing.
That was the first.
Yeah. So I
love
sat
Godzilla
there
versus
and
Kong.
I
It's
watched
okay.
Godzilla versus Kong and all the Hollow Earth stuff in that. Like I was just really not super crazy about Godzilla after that. I watched that and I think I was like, I didn't really like that very much. I don't think I'm gonna watch any more of these. And I then probably ate my words in 2023 whenever we went to go watch Godzilla minus one. And honestly, I went into that movie not expecting much because I had watched Godzilla versus Kong, wasn't a fan at the time. I have since like turned the tide on that and have watched, I think, all of the MonsterVerse movies except for King of the Monsters, which is the third one,
Yeah.
which I know we've talked about before that I need to watch that one, but I have not. I actually rewatched Kong Skull Island last night just because I had some friends over. We were watching the 1954 Godzilla. We then watched Gamera versus Giron.
Yes.
And then I wanted to, because I've got a nice little audio set up in my living room, and I was like, okay, we need to like listen to the opening of this on my surround sound because it sounds insane for Kong Skull Island. So I ended up watching that last night. But Godzilla minus one, I did not have big expectations, no high expectations for Godzilla minus one. And in fact, the movie theater started that movie about 10 or 15 minutes before it was scheduled to start for some reason that night. And the guy, like, we walked in, and it's like already going. And we're like, what the heck is going on? The manager comes in. He's like, hey, guys, they like stop the movie. He's like, hey, guys, somehow the projector, like this movie started too early. So we're actually going to start the whole thing over. We didn't watch any previews that night, which was kind of nice. They just started the movie over. And we missed the entire like opening scene on, is it Odo Island?
It is Odo Island, correct. We'll be talking about Odo Island.
Yeah. I was trying to make sure that it was the same island because that one I've found out since then was kind of like a big like homage to this original Godzilla. And
Yes,
I have
indeed.
some stuff, like some similarities that we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, so we missed that entire, and then like the movie restarts. We watch this like opening scene. It's beautiful. It's like unbelievable to watch in IMAX. It sounds amazing. And I think Godzilla minus one was like a 1A, 1B movie that year with Oppenheimer, which was like a real tough decision which one to put first. Because I liked Oppenheimer for a number of reasons. One of which was just the theater experience was awesome because we got to go watch it in 70 millimeter. But Godzilla minus one, I mean, it was very tough for me to like not have that near the top. So it was kind of a 1A and 1B that year. And it got me hooked, man. Like something about that movie in particular, like it's beautiful, it's intense. The way that they like scaled Godzilla was terrifying as well, especially that like boat chase sequence where he's like chasing him and they're shooting at him and they're trying to, yeah, dude, it was like, I'm sure you were like geeking out whenever that came on screen.
That was one of the only movies I've ever went and watched by myself in the theater, actually. And I went back again with my wife, but I had to go see it like by myself. Like they had a preview. It was like a preview screening like a night before premiere, and there was some tickets left. And I just got back from vacation. I was like, absolutely, I have to go. And I bought the ticket like in the car on the way to the theater. Like it was that good. But yeah.
And I went with one of my friends, and like we go to the movies a lot, and typically, you know, we'll kind of talk during the movie and joke around and like talk about stuff that's on screen or whatever. That one, we both sat there just like jaw on the floor, like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I know you're going to ask me about the score in a little bit, but the Godzilla suite during that.
Mhm.
I think it's Godzilla Suite 2 on the album where they like are taking the boats out. They've like lured Godzilla out there. The boats are starting to wrap around. You got the dun 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 dun.
Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
bro, it was hitting so hard in the IMAX theater that night. And I actually enjoyed that movie so much that I took my parents, and my mom is someone who like exclusively likes to watch Hallmark movies. Like she has some other things, but you know, that kind of movie like has a happy ending, no, you know, drama, action, anything like that. And I took both of them, and my mom was like very impressed. She was like, that was actually really, really good. And I don't know. It kind of changed my opinion and got me into wanting to watch more Godzilla. So props to -1. It's the movie that got me into the Godzilla universe.
Look at so that's incredible. So, minor segue here. Well, hit a comment or two here. So, Lore Seeker said -1 was one of the coolest experiences, like movie experience in movie theater he's ever had.
I
And I gotta
agree.
agree.
I put it up there with like a 70 millimeter IMAX Oppenheimer, a Top Gun Maverick. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
those are ones that stick out to me in recent years. I could think like Episode 3 Star Wars. I remember watching that in theaters, and like that was awesome. There's a number of like very, very impressive theater experiences I've had, and Godzilla -1 is up there towards the top.
It was a top 5 for me, lifetime theater experiences. No doubt. If I had to rank, I'm not a good ranker. You know that from talking to me a little. I hate ranking things, but if I had to,
Yeah,
it's top 5 easy. Lord Seeker always said Godzilla was a true monster villain in -1. You could feel the intensity when he was near. Absolutely. It's
I
sometimes when
agree.
people say things about -1, I hate to sound so artsy, but they put it in such a way that it's even hard to elaborate on. They do say, "Yeah, that comment's perfect. I can't elaborate, but I know what you mean." That's one of
Yeah,
those type comments right there. But yeah, -1's
yeah.
incredible. So
And the
minor seg
score, man, the score helps with that. Like, yes, there's original Godzilla music in -1, but the way that they arranged it and some of the new pieces of the score that they put in, dude, top tier.
So you're gonna have to I'm gonna have to show you, a couple of those scores were actually taken from some older Godzilla movies. My
Mhm.
favorite one was in Godzilla Suite 2. It's when the boats were going out. It was the dun 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 dun, du 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 du.
Mhm.
I'm tone
Yep.
deaf here, I'm sorry. That's from King Kong versus Godzilla 1962,
Oh,
1963. That was like,
okay.
the King Kong music. So it was like a nice little throwback there.
Heck yeah. I haven't
Um,
seen that one.
oh, dude. Well, trust me, we'll talk about
So
it.
so I have now seen Godzilla -1 since I watched that. I
Yeah.
have watched all of the MonsterVerse movies except for Godzilla King of the Monsters.
It's a great one. I love it.
I've watched all of Monarch season 1,
Mhm.
and I've now seen Godzilla 1954, and I think that's still it.
Well, we
So,
have more planned for you. I know we've talked about it.
yeah, we kinda talked about it. This could kind of be like the beginning of some sort of like a small mini series or something, but
We could. You know my schedule's crazy,
I
but
know
we
your
could live
schedule's
stream,
crazy.
like, once a month over the next year and just kinda catch up, like, "Hey,
Yeah.
we're talking about he's gonna watch through, because he got the Criterion Collection. He's gonna be watching through a lot of the Showa era stuff Showa, Showa. Make fun of me how I pronounce it, I'm sorry, but I'm trying my best
Sounds right to
here.
me.
Not being from Japan, I'm working on my best. Apparently, I pronounced Gamera wrong. Apparently, it's Gamera.
It's Gamera.
It's Gamera for me, so
No,
sorry
it's
about it.
that's not how they pronounce it in the movie. Sorry. I watched one yesterday. That was the first one of those I'd seen too.
Well, I'll work on that, but, he's gonna watch some of the Shower era stuff. I think Godzilla Raids Again was the homework I gave you next, and then King Kong versus Godzilla.
Which are
Those
the
are
first 3, right?
Yeah, and there's some
Yeah.
light continuity. No, those 3 are pretty continuitous, and then after you get, like, a few years past that, it gets a little muddy, but what's it matter? It's not some big grand established timeline universe
Yeah.
type deal. It's Godzilla. We got another chatter here. Enter. This is H2, definitely one of my old. Uh, so I got online. That's how I met Lore Seeker, kind of during the pandemic when everything was shut down. And H2 is one of the friends I made through Twitch, Discord, all these connections, stuff like
Let's
that.
go.
He is trying to get his hands on the 4K Ultra movie. Let me tell you, Ryan is a little bit of a physical media collector. We could probably get you set in the right way to get for getting one ordered. I got one off Amazon, but we definitely get you the right way while it's still available because
Of
you don't want to get yourself in a
-1,
Shin Godzilla. You don't want to
I
get yourself in a Shin Godzilla situation where it's hard to find. Yeah,
I
-1.
I have still not found Shin Godzilla, and I could order it off Amazon, but that's no
Mhm.
fun. It's more fun to go in a store and try to find it and be on the hunt for
Well,
it.
it
But
was on shelves at Walmart for years, and
I
now
do
it's gone.
have this like collector set for
Mhm.
Godzilla minus one, which I thought about ordering like just strictly the Japanese version from Japan at first.
It'd be good.
Well, yeah, but there were no English subtitles, so you just have to, you know,
Yeah.
trek through it. But they did like a limited US release of this where it's still only in Japanese on the 4K. It also has minus color and the Blu-ray, I think, both
Mhm.
in addition to the 4K. But it does have English subtitles. And then I also bought the Steelbook on 4K, which I think has all the dubs on it as well, which I know they were on Netflix for a
That's
while.
the one I have is the
But
Steelbook.
yeah, so I got a little carried away probably, if I had to be honest.
That's okay. Well, hey, we'll definitely hood up H2. We'll definitely let him know the way to get that for sure. And speaking of original, like,
I saw 4Ks at Walmart the other day.
well, there you have it, H2. Definitely go check there, bud. We have another original guy here, another original friend from my chronically online days. Definitely need to get more Godzilla physical media. Let me recommend getting that Criterion collection while you can. It is a wonderful collection, great artwork,
Definitely, if
lots
you're
of
gonna
fun
buy
stuff
the
going on.
Criterion though, buy it when they have their 50% off sale, either at Barnes and Noble or just through their website, which I think
On
they have that
Amazon.
like
That's where I got it.
well, but it's like twice. I think they do it on Amazon as well, but they do it like
Mhm.
twice a year at Barnes and Noble, and then like all the other places will match, trying to make sure that they don't lose sales.
Yeah.
But I think that's usually like June and November or something like that.
All right, Crispy, you
But
got that, bro? Definitely need to
yeah,
get it.
definitely
Criterion.
keep an eye out for that because I mean that's what we watched the 1954 Godzilla on. It looks beautiful. Like
Oh, it's so good on
it
that
looks
set.
beautiful on the
It is
Criterion
so
set.
and I know that I've heard rumors, I know I've talked to some people that, like, they they're hardcore physical media dudes, and they said based on the spine number of Criterion is that, they know, like, they're planning stuff, and they read, like, a data thing where I think they're working on a Heisei Criterion set, which if they did that,
Oh,
that would be really incredible because the Heisei
oh.
era is a lot of fun for
Hi say,
Godzilla.
hey say.
Heisei, yeah, if you're a Godzilla fan watching the channel, you know what I'm talking about, even though I might be saying it wrong. Y'all gonna
I'm just
forgive me.
I was more asking if you know the correct pronunciation.
I'm gonna say Heisei, but, it could
Okay.
be Heisei, I don't know. I'm gonna say Heisei, it's a lot
I
more
don't
fun that
know.
way. So here's what we're gonna do, guys. We're gonna get into so the original point of this chat, if you just joined us, is that Ryan has never watched the 1954 original Godzilla,
Until
and
yesterday.
he watched it yesterday, and
Until
so
yesterday.
we're gonna talk about it a little bit. We've got some prompted questions here that we're gonna go through, and honestly, we've already hit on this one. Having a history watching Godzilla, other monster movies, we hit that already, and basically the answer was not really
No, and
up until 23.
what exactly do you classify as monster movies?
So we're gonna talk about like I mean King Kong, uh golly, just any just kaiju I mean even Pacific Rim. Heck, I'd maybe even include Mighty Joe Young. Definitely well, not Mighty Joe Young. Actually, I have problems with that. I have problems with Mighty Joe Young. That's a different discussion for a different day.
Okay, I don't
Um
even know that I know what that is.
it's a movie
So
about a big gorilla.
it's a movie about what?
A big gorilla.
Okay.
But so Gorgo, monster from 20,000 depths or something. I get the title wrong. Any type of movies like that, but definitely like King Kong, Godzilla, that kind of stuff. You have any other history outside of what we already hit up before minus one, or not really?
Not that I can really think of. I mean, Godzilla versus Kong is the only one that really comes to mind. I don't know if there would really be any uh strictly like monster movies. I mean, I don't know. I've never really been big into monsters, so
Well, I was terrified by him growing up. I used to
I mean, yeah,
hide our
dude, I was
VHS
scared by
tapes.
Scooby Doo when I was little. So the Scooby Doo movie that what's it called? Zombie Island. That one at the
That's a
end,
good one.
man, that one freaked me out when I was little.
Yeah, I used to hide my brother. So my brother, we grew up watching Godzilla together. I used to hide our VHS tapes of King Kong versus Godzilla because they scared me.
Uh,
Like, I had a nightmare that Gigan, like, chainsawed through my house and murdered my family and stuff like that. And now I grew up and I, like,
wow.
talk about Godzilla lore and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of a
You just had to be traumatized before you could fall in love, is what I'm
yeah.
hearing.
So Lore Seeker says we will include Mighty Joe Young. But he's not a monster, you know. Creature from the Black Lagoon, definitely some classic monster movies like that, you know. And then, you know, we're talking about physical media. Guys, if you're listening, if you just joined, physical media is important. I don't mean to sound like a hipster or some artsy fella, but seriously, I have friends that have bought movies through online distributors and had those licenses revoked where they said, well, you don't own the movie. You basically just bought it for temporary. And they removed the license. So
Yeah, and you paid full
4K,
price for it.
exactly, yeah. So 4K, Blu-ray, all that kind of stuff, even straight up
DVDs,
DVD.
VHS, like there's old Betamax and like all kinds of crazy stuff that out there.
Um,
My one of my buddies is a really big physical media collector, and I used to think he was dumb. Honestly, I was like, man, I can just get all that digitally, or I can watch on Netflix. Like, there's no reason. But then there's that big like fiasco with PlayStation where they like
that's what my
revoked a
friend had.
bunch
It was
of
the Sony
people's
issue.
movies,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, maybe I should like start buying some physical media. So.
Yeah. I had a lot stolen from my house many moons ago when I lived somewhere else. And you know, that was pretty upsetting, but like King Kong Escapes, it was the Showa era sequel to King Kong versus it was like King Kong's continuity in the Showa era. And I've never seen that movie. It was in the $5 bin at Walmart with two other
Whoa.
King Kong movies I already own, but I was like, I have to buy it for that. So anyway, you can get it. It doesn't always have to be 4K, pristine, this criterion, this collection. If it's hard to find, get your hands on it while you can.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a
Um,
snob. I would not buy I personally will not buy anything less than Blu-ray.
I mean, I'm
Uh,
with you there unless it's like a
and
miracle
but
hard to find.
there are still a lot of movies at this point in 2025 that do not have a Blu-ray release, including this movie back here, Kangaroo Jack, still
Shout
only
out.
on DVD or VHS. So,
H2, how many physical media copies of Napoleon Dynamite do you own? I know that you've got like 10 copies of Napoleon Dynamite or something weird like that.
hey, you want to know something that I should probably be ashamed to admit?
You've never seen Napoleon
I've never
Dynamite?
seen Napoleon Dynamite.
I'm gonna drive to your house, like however many hours it is from here, and I'm gonna punch you in the head.
My friends give me a hard time about it, but at this point, it's kind of fun. So I'm almost
Or-
inclined not to watch it,
You have
just out
to.
of spite.
You have to. It's your next homework after the shower era Godzilla. So Lord
After we
Seeker,
get
he
done with
said,
Godzilla, we'll do a Napoleon Dynamite
there
show.
you
Yeah.
go. He said he used to get off the school bus, get some snacks, watch King Kong vs. Godzilla 1962. Absolutely. That was the one I watched when I was growing up. And then H2, he was kind of commenting about it. You never owned it. You just borrowed it digital, talking about the whole fiasco.
Yeah.
Get your physical copies of movies you really care about or
Yeah.
anything that's kind of hard to find.
Just wild.
Lord Seeker recently bought Interstellar 4K with the patches. That's what I'm talking about.
Ooh. Was that like the
And
special edition one, Lore Seeker?
I don't know,
Because I know they did a special
send us a
edition one.
picture of
That
that.
one looked pretty cool.
He's
Looked
definitely
pretty
going to send
cool.
us a picture of that. And then he has 8 copies in a binder of Napoleon Dynamite.
Nice. Heck
I've
yeah.
seen a picture of it. It's great.
Heck yeah.
So, guys that are commenting, we really appreciate you helping out here.
Absolutely.
But we're going to get into some of our questions here. So let's go ahead and say right here, Godzilla 19. So once again, if you just joined us, I sound like a radio host, whatever. If you just joined us, this chat is Ryan here has never watched Godzilla 1954 until yesterday, and so we're going to be talking about that. Obviously, we're going to chase squirrels. We're going to jump around and talk about other stuff, but most of the chat from here forward is going to be dedicated to talking about Godzilla 1954. So
yeah, it's very easy for me to get off on a rabbit trail. So, just buckle in.
Yeah. So let's talk about not necessarily your favorite part, some of your favorite parts of the movie. I think that's an easy one to lead into. I have 4 or 5 other questions here, and we'll probably come up with some other ones, but let's talk about your favorite part and then definitely some of the other ones that stick out to mind for you.
I mean, I really liked the part where he is like is it Tokyo? Is that where they're at? And when he's in Tokyo, like marching down the street, grabs the train. It was like a flat. Like, you could tell in like -1 that was something that they like wanted to pay homage to. That part was really cool because I was like, oh, dude, this is so cool. Like this is what they pulled for the new one. So a bunch of that stuff. I do think one of my favorite parts of the movie though was when they first go up to like take pictures of Godzilla, like they can hear the stomping and he's like behind the
just like
the mountain. Yeah. That part was cool because he kind of looks derpy. Like So that was one reason also I had never watched any of these before, was because I'd always heard like, oh, like Godzilla doesn't look that great. It's just a guy in a costume, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't look all that great. Anyway, I thought it actually held up like really well, considering they shot this in 1950, or probably before 1954, because when it was released. I was impressed. So I had seen some like stills and stuff where he kind of looks derpy in the costume. I did not. There were only like two instances I could think that occurred. One of which was that scene, which I thought was funny, and then the other one is as he's terrorizing the town. At one point, he like looks directly into the camera. And like me and my two buddies, as we were watching this, like erupted in laughter. Like I don't know what was funny about it, as much as we just all thought it was hilarious.
So there's actually some lore to discuss with that, and I was hoping it got brought up because I haven't written down here to go to. So it was filmed with, obviously you have your suit actor, suitmation here, and the scene where Godzilla pops up over the hill, and then the scene where he looks in the camera, it's through like a bird cage. That's actually a hand puppet that they made to film certain parts because they wanted to get the scaling right with with anything in the foreground, actors and the screen and the overlay. That's a hand puppet, and they used it in the next Godzilla movie as well. And you can tell because the design and the look is slightly different.
Yeah.
And so I can show you a couple examples of that, and you'll just see it next time. Like, oh wow, that's definitely what that was, and that's the two parts you're talking about.
Yeah. I
And
mean, there were some like sort of, I don't even know what it kind of was, crappy VFX, which,
Mhm.
this is what, 71 years ago at
It's
this
been a
point.
while, so
So,
still looks better
it's
than Cats
things
because
have
that came
gone,
out 5 years ago.
well, yeah. Uh, things have come a long way since 1954 is what I'm getting
Yes.
at. So it was impressive that they were able to do this. I'm sure people that went and watched this in the theater in 1954 were probably like mesmerized, like, whoa, that's so cool.
Mhm.
But it's interesting to watch like a Godzilla minus one or a MonsterVerse thing that has so much CGI, and you're like, whoa, that looks incredible. And then you watch this and you're like, wow, like
Kinda look at where they came from.
they were working with some magic back in the day. Like you can definitely tell that is a matte painting.
Yeah. Lord Seeger said it was the 10th anniversary of Interstellar, by the way.
That was a
Mark
cool set. We actually got to go watch Interstellar in 70 millimeter IMAX film as well when they re-released that. That was
Uh,
amazing.
I've never watched Interstellar, keep that a secret. It's on my
Okay.
list.
Okay. Giving me a hard time.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about that later. So, and further lore, when Godzilla first appears over the hill on Odo Island, he was originally supposed to be chewing on a cow, like eating a cow, and then the director was like, that might be a little too gory, and we want it to be more frightening, like a monster appears.
Mhm.
So, and which kind of leads into, I'm gonna go ahead and answer these questions
Where
as
if he eats a cow, it's kind of like, oh, he's just having a snack. Like
yeah,
maybe he's
I
not
would
that
laugh.
threatening.
I would laugh. Instead, I'm like peeing my pants watching this. Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that's because the scale of it. Like you said, that's something they
Uh-huh.
nailed. Which once again, something they did so perfectly in minus one. And when you go back retrospectively between minus one and 1954, and look at some of the homages and things that they kind of pay tribute to, and even replicate in a few instances, it's about like kind of going back between Star Wars, like you know, Episode 4, and then going to the prequels and kind of seeing things that they not necessarily flashback because it's more timeline stuff, but I don't know. Came off the top of my head. We'll scratch that idea. Sorry, too late for edits. You knew what I was getting at. It's kind of a retro. From your standpoint, you're watching it kind of retrospectively.
Uh-huh.
So you watch minus one first, then you watch 54,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, I see kind of why they did that. And then from my standpoint, I'm like, oh wow, they did that years ago. What a cool tribute. So you're just seeing it kind of backwards. Still a
Yeah.
really cool aspect to see it from.
Well, I
So
mean,
yeah,
you say retrospective. I did notice. I was like, "Oh, they're really like paying tribute, paying homage to the original Godzilla in this one." So I actually have a list, which I guess we can sort of go through, because this was one of my favorite parts of the movie, was just like the similarities between the two. But it's not like a full list, but it's a very rough list of like comparisons between these two. One
run through it
was
real
the
quick, and I'll answer one of my favorite parts too.
one was the biting of the train car. I thought that
Mhm.
was cool. The briefings that they have where they're like trying to figure out like, how do we kill this thing? Like, what do we
Mhm.
need to do? They're in these rooms, they're talking into microphones. I thought that was really, really cool.
It
Uh,
serves as it's an expose dump,
yeah.
but it's the narrative of the movie because you're watching these people figure out a unique horrible tragedy in real time, and
Mhm.
they're explaining it kind of as they go. It's
Yeah.
world building. I love it. I eat it up.
Yeah. There was the people running as Godzilla terrorizes the street. There's almost like a shot for shot uh,
Mhm.
in that one. And then I thought the bubbles at the end, because they have the oxygen destroyer in this one, but they also like wrap him in like, what is it? I don't even remember what kind of gas it is in -1.
Oh yeah, that was in it was hydrogen.
It was hydrogen.
I,
Okay, that was what I
I
was
think it
thinking.
was.
But
Yeah,
so they like wrap him in that and they sink him really fast, but like
Mhm.
lots of bubbles. I thought that was kind of cool too.
It was a chemical. It was a chemical like physics standpoint, not physics, but the
Yeah.
way they
Yeah.
approached it, which I
I
really
think it actually was physics.
yeah totally. I didn't take physics. I opted for other things.
Fluid dynamics. Who knows,
There you go.
man?
Okay, well we have it now. Real world lore here, physics and whatnot.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite parts of the movie takes place directly before in 1954, right before Godzilla is seen for the first time. It's a Hitchcock moment. Godzilla is like glimpsed when they are on Odo Island and there's a storm and the ground is shaking. They think it's like really intense thunder. And all of a sudden you see Godzilla's tail in one scene, like swipe through.
Oh, really?
And it's kind of Hitchcock. And if you've never seen like a Hitchcock movie, one of the best examples is the movie Jaws, where Jaws,
Jaws is
Bruce.
not Hitchcock.
No, I'm saying it's same style here.
Okay.
The same style here. The monster or the villain or the killer is not shown until like a good chunk into the movie,
Yeah.
and like the
Spielberg's
climax,
really good at that.
yes, you see a shadow, like you see the shark's tail or like a tooth, and then that one scene, Chief Brody, why don't you come down here and chum some of this? You know, Jaws is a perfect movie. Then the shark pops up. So Godzilla was the same way. They're in the village and you see like kind of Godzilla's tail or a leg or something like that. And they go out there, oh wow, this was a horrible storm. And wait, there's giant footprints, there's radiation. What's going on? And then the little alarm bell goes off and they say there's something going on, and boom, then he pops up over the island. Reverse continuation of that scene. That's one of my favorite parts. And then when Godzilla first appears, in Tokyo Bay, and the people are freaking out on the little cruise, like dinner cruise boat, and he's marching
Oh, yeah.
through the electric lines, and the music, it's not like swelling and epic. It's very like dark and kind of chills your spine a little bit.
Mhm.
That's one of the best scenes. And then
Music's fantastic.
as far as horrifying scenes, um, golly, a lot of people don't realize just how much of a horror fest the 1954 movie is, as far as like horror is concerned, and then compared to the rest of Godzilla movies, outside of -1, of course, and a couple of other ones. But when the mother is comforting the two children on the streets, don't worry, we're going to be with our father soon. And
Oh, yeah.
we know that Godzilla 1954 was written very anti-nuclear, very anti the fallouts of World War II, all these things. Couple of anti Western feeling all this stuff, and in my head canon, it's like, well, the father either died in the bombing of Hiroshima or Nagasaki, or in World War II, and she's comforting his children as they're about to be killed by this, nuclear analogy monster, and that part is. I remember, like, I've heard about it, like, oh yeah, Godzilla 54 is dark and deep, and then I watched it for the first time, and that scene just absolutely wrecked me, dude. That was when you see that part, you're like, "Oh, that never gets easier to watch." Like, you can watch Godzilla, chew on somebody or stomp on somebody, like, "Oh, you totally squished that dude." And then you watch
Yeah.
that and you're like, "Yeah, that doesn't get any easier for sure."
Hmm.
More movie franchises need to incorporate things from past movies into new ones like -1. I agree, and that's something that the MonsterVerse has actually done decently well with Godzilla movies. Going forward, is that they tie in little stuff here and there, um, real small stuff, especially King Kong versus Godzilla, with Godzilla versus Kong. When you watch King Kong versus Godzilla 1962, I feel like you're going to appreciate Godzilla versus Kong that much more,
Okay.
because it is like they just tied in so many little things and stuff like that. I love it. So, next question here. And honestly, I don't think I'm gonna have an answer for this. Like, what was your least favorite part of the movie, or when you watch it, like, what was even partially a negative experience with watching 1954 for the first time?
Oh man. I'm trying to think what a negative experience
I
would
got
have
nothing, honestly.
been. I mean, I have a couple things probably. I mean, the VFX is definitely a low point when you've
Yeah,
watched some of the newer ones, and then you're going back and you're like, oh wow, like that looks completely fake.
yeah.
Especially, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was in that some of the like trucks that crash, you could tell are miniatures, and
Yes.
that was like, wow, like I that does not look real at all.
Yeah, they were big on the miniatures for sure,
They were really
and
big on the miniatures, which you kind of have to be if you're trying to, do what they're doing without like today's CGI. I mean, there's a lot of ways to shoot um, in terms of like how to make things seem much larger, but you're trying to make Godzilla like skyscraper tall, and it's really tough to do that without using miniatures.
it is, and I love that the miniatures is something that the Godzilla franchise continued to use going forward, well into the modern era and stuff like that. So it's something you'll see more going forward. You more or less get used to it, I suppose, with Godzilla content. Um,
I can confirm though. We watched
yeah,
we watched Gamera versus Giron, I think. Uh
yeah.
Immediately after, we went and like grabbed some food and came back and watched that. The Godzilla VFX significantly better than whatever they were doing in Gamera. Like there was
There
some
was more
green screen
realism.
stuff at the end of that we were all like, that looks bad.
There was definitely more of an approach to realism with most Godzilla stuff. Now, as you get later into the Showa era, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, they realized that children were eating it up, and they made some Godzilla stuff that, like, with children in mind. And you might roll your eyes a little bit, but there's a certain charm to it, and it all rolls back together. Godzilla is like a buffet, honestly.
Is it just like goofy? Like it or what?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Goofy,
Okay.
some definitely children targeted characters, but nothing that is like I never like cringe at it or nothing I refuse to watch. It's not like Scott's Tots or anything like that. It's definitely you watch it, you're like, oh, that was made for children. Like, when I was a
Yeah.
kid, I ate that up. Now I'm an adult, so I can't crap on it now just because I'm an adult. Senor Trekkie says hello or says hi. Hello, Senor Trekkie. Thank you for joining us. We
What's
appreciate it.
up? What's up?
We're having a little chat about Godzilla 1954. My friend here, Ryan, has never seen it. So we're talking about that. We just talk about our favorite and least favorite parts of the movie. Honestly, I don't have a least favorite part. I guess at the end of the day, I'm still getting used to watching a lot of like subbed content. Because I do like subbed over dubbed. And so that's just a learning curve. So it's not a least favorite part
I
for
do
me.
too.
And
We did watch Gamera yesterday, dubbed. Horrible. Worst dub I've ever listened to.
I will say King Kong versus Godzilla. We grew up watching the dubbed version, and I can't watch the subbed version because I enjoy the goofy silliness of the dubbed version. There's like a part where
Oh.
a guy's foot hurt. My corns on my feet hurt. I don't want to hear about your corns and just all this goofy stuff. Man, I eat it up. I love it so
Yeah.
much. So I hope in the Criterion set that the dubbed version is in there because it's more enjoyable to me.
I
But
think maybe. I know there's like is it the US version that we get in the Criterion, and then as a special feature you get the Japanese version of that movie?
yes, that is correct. And there's been long-standing discussions about the differences between the two, and oh, there's a secret alternate ending. In America, Godzilla wins, or in America, King Kong wins. In Japan, Godzilla wins. I made a video. I would link it right now. It's on the channel. Go watch it. It explains it all very well. There are some differences, but
Yeah, you
no,
gotta have this stuff together, Drew, man.
there's not two secret endings. The two secret endings was made up by a magazine publication as a rumor, and it went around for a very long time up until physical media and home media became popular and people had this at home. Nobody had the movie at home to go check that, so it was a very believable rumor. It was published in a magazine in Europe. I made a video about it, so definitely go check that out. So as far as least favorite parts, I have nothing. Other than
Okay, when did you watch this last? I know you said you've seen it a billion times.
1954 Godzilla.
Yeah.
It's been about a year since I've watched it.
Okay.
Yeah. But even still, I can't think of a part like, this is a good part to, pause it and go get popcorn or whatever like that. I'm typically locked in for the entirety of the movie, and I just can't think of any part I'm just like, I don't really like that or anything like that. So that's why I kind of went on the subbed versus dubbed tangent, and it was just a learning curve because that was the first movie I started watching. I was like, okay, I gotta watch this subtitles because it's authentic. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
real authentic with this one. So that's why that's my only thing I can even be partially negative about because the rest of the movie's just so good. Other than, maybe I would have maybe enjoyed a little more Monster Mayhem, but obviously that would have been tough for them to do in budget and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
But no, it's just it's one of those movies that I hold in very high regard as being darn near perfect. There's very few perfect movies out there for me, Jaws being one of them. And Godzilla 1954, I'd have it in considerations at least. Maybe I'm just being a homer, but definitely would be in talks for it.
Yeah. I don't know that I would hold it in that high regard, but I also did watch it for the first time yesterday. So
That makes a difference,
yeah.
That makes a difference for sure. So we'll go ahead and move on. We don't have any comments to catch up on here. We're gonna keep rolling. Things are going well. We're having a good time. And if you've joined, we appreciate it. If you're just now joining, we're interviewing here talking about Ryan. He's never watched Godzilla 1954 until yesterday. We're interviewing him. And if you're watching this kind of like after the fact, days, weeks, months, years later from now, we appreciate the heck out of it. So
Heck yeah, we do.
we're gonna go into our next question. Oh, wait, we might have a comment to catch up on. So
Whoa.
Trekkie has given us a wizard ball. So
Let's
thank you.
go.
We are pondering our orbs.
I don't know.
On this channel, in my life, we constantly ponder our orbs. So we are gonna leave the pondered orb up there. So on to our next question. We're gonna talk about favorite human character from Godzilla 1954. Ryan, I'll let you go first here as the guest, and if you want to talk about multiple characters, go ahead. The floor is yours, my friend.
Okay. Oh man, I'm trying to think. What was my favorite? Who was my favorite human character?
You did just watch it yesterday, so
yeah,
if you got to think about it for a second,
the
that's
old
fine.
man was pretty good. We did joke as soon as was it Emiko, something like that.
Emiko, yeah.
Emiko. We did joke as soon as she came on screen. We were like, "Dang, she kind of hot." But she was pretty good. I liked the eye patch guy, the scientist guy. Yeah, I thought he was neat. The old man though, I think probably takes the cake. I can't remember what his name is. Did they even say his name?
Yeah, Dr. Yamane, which is actually
he was just like, you idiots, just listen to me the whole movie.
He's the grouchy old man, but you got to listen to grouchy old men. They've been there, done that. We know what we're talking about. Grouchy for a reason because no one listens to him.
No, don't kill Godzilla. We need to study him and his radiation.
Yeah, exactly. And so Trekkie says Dr. Sarah Sauer, Yamane, Dr. Yamane, and Emiko, which is Dr. Yamane's daughter. Sorry if I'm butchering translations and words. Y'all get it. We've talked about that before. That's the kind of common three answers for sure. Another one would definitely be Hideto Ogata. He was he was Emiko's boyfriend, and that was kind of the little bit of a love triangle there between Emiko, Ogata, and Dr. Sarasawa going on, which Dr. Sarasawa, they repurposed that character for the MonsterVerse, and I've done some really good stuff on them. And when you watch King of the Monsters for the first time, you're going to see that kind of come full circle as far as how they tribute that character. And I think you'll really enjoy that when it happens, honestly.
Does he show up in anything like past that?
Dr. Sarasawa?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, he was in the end credits of Kong School Island because the continuity tying everything together. And his character's definitely continued. I won't say much as far as like spoilers, but he's absolutely a focal point of King of the Monsters and even a little bit beyond that. So for sure. And then his son so you've seen Godzilla vs. Kong, right?
Yep.
The little like the guy with like the anime haircut that piloted Mecha Godzilla, that's his son.
Okay.
Yeah. And so there's some stuff there, whatever. His name was Ren Sarasawa. So as far as favorite human characters, it's definitely Sarasawa for me. Because he in the movie, the grouchy old man, I identify with him, Dr. Yamane, more than anything because I find myself.
I thought it was Yamane.
Yamane. Oh, am I pronouncing it wrong?
I have no idea. It was just funny to be like Yamane.
So I don't have this studio set up for production. Y'all know I'm gonna look right into the camera and tell y'all. My laptop's down here, and I'm reading notes and like wiki pages from it, and it's back there a little bit. It's a little bit farther away from me,
That's fine.
and I'm just killing it.
I
Obviously,
don't
it's gonna
know.
be
It could be Yamane. I don't know, man. I
Yamane,
watched this
Yamain.
yesterday. You should know better than me.
Well, me with pronunciations, you know it's rough. So,
Yeah,
y'all
got
know who
that.
I'm talking about. Grouchy old man yells at everybody. One
That
of the best characters in the movie.
Southern American accent.
So, definitely that. But yeah, as I said, Dr. Sarasawa is my favorite character individually in the movie because he's the reluctant hero of the whole deal, as it turns out.
Yeah.
He is he's hurt because he's in love with Emiko, and the love is not there. And Emiko's got a man, and he's probably not too happy about it. Which oh, I'm just making sure that we're not having a. Are you still there, Ryan?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm watching the stream down on a separate thing, and it's buffering real bad. So maybe it's just on my end there. Either way, if y'all are having any problems with the stream interruptions, comment and let us know
I don't know. It
for
looks
sure.
good
We're
on
gonna
my
keep rolling regardless. Okay. Um, but I love Sarasawa because, like I said, he's the reluctant guy. He's pained the entire movie because he has this. The old man wants to save and study Godzilla,
Yeah.
and Sarasawa wants to do what's best for the people of Tokyo and worldwide. They don't know how much of a threat Godzilla could be worldwide, and he's a member of the scientific community, and that's part of his deal with. And there's some really neat dialogue. I don't have any examples saved here. I really did not do a good enough job preparing here, but there's some dialogue between Sarasawa and Emiko that kind of hint at some of this stuff, and I really like it. Talking about what's right and what's wrong here. Do we kill the thing? And in the end of the day, he's the hero because he is who comes up with the method to kill Godzilla.
Yeah.
And he knows that it is horrifying what it'll do. And he doesn't know
The
the
oxygen
ramifications.
destroyer.
Exactly. He doesn't know the ramifications. Could this just work once? Could it work horribly and do way more damage? Could it not work at all and just tick Godzilla off? It's all possible. And the way that he sacrifices himself to where he's like, okay, I have this technology. However, it's one and done. I'm not leaving y'all with it. I'm destroying it.
I'm destroying
And
any evidence that there was that it even ever existed. Yeah.
exactly. And
His
none of that,
plans, everything.
I'm destroying myself too. That way you can't even torture me and get it out of my brain. And
Yeah.
he sacrifices himself in the end. And I think as far as like character arc, he's got the whole thing going on in the movie. And
And
he
you don't
was a
even see
freaking
him
eye
that much
patch.
until like 3/4 of the way through the movie either.
He's introduced, but the way that they talk and introduce the character, it feels like he's been there the whole time because he's wrapped up with multiple different characters from
Yeah.
a connection standpoint. And let's see here. H2 says, I'm gonna have to rewatch the movie because I only saw it once more than 5 years ago. I remember when you watched it the first time. You talked to me about it, I think. Stream's not buffering. Stream's good on my end. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for letting me know because obviously I was a little bit worried about that. So I'm glad we're good. So, like I say, Sarasawa would definitely be my favorite character for sure.
It's a good choice. It's a good choice.
It's
I
easy
really
choice.
I thought the scenes where he like first like uses the oxygen destroyer to like show what it's capable of was hilarious.
Mhm.
Because you see fish and then you see fish bones and then you see nothing.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
that's the same payoff that you get at the end. You see
Exactly.
Godzilla, you see Godzilla skeleton, you see nothing. It like he said is liquid. I don't know how that works. You take all the oxygen out somehow. It not only kills you, but it like vaporizes and liquefies your like entire being.
Now, the only thing that didn't work is that we know the bones were still there, and that comes into play in more Godzilla movies down the road. You'll see they kind of like as far as loose continuity. And
They
stuff.
are.
Oh, the bones are still there.
They disappear at the end of the movie.
It's been a minute. Well, either way, they come back.
At the
Like I
end
said,
of the movie,
continuity is
you
not
see
super important for
oxygen
Godzilla.
destroyer. You see Godzilla flash. You
Mhm.
see Godzilla skeleton. You see another flash. It's gone.
Well, like I said, they didn't really plan continuity. It was they bring it back later, and everybody see this little guy right here. Yeah, Kiryu version of Mechagodzilla. That's a big one as far as Godzilla's bones are concerned, and a little bit of a tribute coming from there, how they did Mechagodzilla in 2021. A lot of cool stuff.
Okay.
There's so much lore, which is why it's good to have a lore channel. So, um, human characters we nailed. Let's talk about. I'm gonna skip that one for a second. Let's talk about soundtrack for a second because we hinted at it originally, and yeah, let's talk about the soundtrack for a second because I think sound scoring is super important for movies as far as enjoying the movie, your
Oh yeah.
involvement in the movie, kind of the whole process of like you're transported to a whole other universe. And that's why when you have a movie like Star Wars, you want to hear Star Wars music. Like you hear Star Wars music, like, yeah, that's Star Wars music if you never watched Star Wars. And then like if someone throws like Britney Spears in the middle of Star Wars, it doesn't work. So
I mean,
um
it could.
it depends
It'd
on the
be
song and
it'd be
movement,
out
I guess.
there. You'd have to
It would have to
have
be
like
the arena scene on
you'd
Geonosis.
have to have like a Guardians of the Galaxy, like somehow finding a Zune and it
Mhm.
for it to work.
You can
Yeah.
make it work there. But, movie soundtrack and even I think movies themselves, I think sometimes the legacy of a movie can be cemented and carried on for years based on the soundtrack. I mean, people know
Yeah.
Godzilla's music, which started as the Japan Self-Defense Force music,
I
and then it
did
turned into
not
Godzilla.
until 2023.
Oh, well, we're just gonna have a talk with you because you're in trouble. But,
I do
you
now.
know, um, Godzilla was sorry, I had to bump my camera, something was bugging me. No, we're gonna have to move it back. Something's bugging me again. Y'all know how casual we are on these live stream, guys. We're here to talk about lore. We're here to talk about a
Oh yeah.
movie. Production value be darned. It's here. Okay. We're producing. So let's what was your favorite part of the soundtrack? We hinted on a little bit with minus one. We talked about that. We know there's some stuff from minus one that they drew back from 54 and other early shower era content. So what was your favorite soundtrack and scoring portions of the movie?
Um, in terms of like score and how it relates to the scene, uh, it'd probably be like the score during like the terrorizing of Tokyo,
Hmm.
because it is like a scary piece of score that they've got going. My favorite part though is very similar to minus one, and I think it's probably because of minus one that this is now my favorite. But it's the dun 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 dun. Like the strings are going freaking so hard right there, and it's beautiful music.
That's one of the best ones. So that one,
So
it
good.
it's the theme for the Japan Self-Defense Force, which was their version of having an active and non-active military at the same. It's a little bit of a history lore there. They had a halfway standing military, but they really didn't due to restrictions put on them from the United States after World War II. And the
Okay.
Japan Self-Defense Force was the result of this, and that was originally their theme in the movie. And then that music became so ubiquitous with Godzilla media and product that it's like, okay, well, this is kind of Godzilla's music now. Other than
Yeah.
the dun 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 dun, everybody knows that one, of course. That one is one of those ones.
Yeah.
I'm very tempted
That
to
just did
play one
that
of my
play
favorite
anywhere else besides the very opening of the movie?
I'd have to think about it. It's been I've watched like 15 Godzilla movies since I've watched 1954, and so
Yeah,
that one,
maybe you
I
should have
feel like
watched
it's
this
in
one
there.
yesterday too.
I should have, but let me tell you, yesterday I worked about 12 hours
Oh,
yesterday,
you're good. You're good.
and
I
I
think it
woke
was
up at
just at the beginning though. Someone in the comments can say this is right or wrong. I
somebody
don't
go be our
remember
guy
it.
in the chair
I
for
don't
sure.
remember it anywhere except for like the very opening credits.
I think that's correct, honestly, because the music evolved for Godzilla over time. Let's see here. H2 says the next Christopher Nolan. A shout out. I could definitely make a movie. I don't know if it'd be as good as Christopher Nolan because he's one of the all-time greatest, but I can make a movie. Yeah, sure. Who knows? No, I ain't got time to make a movie. I don't even have time to produce this YouTube channel.
I'm gonna write a movie specifically about your work, which I will not disclose what you do, and we're gonna make a horror movie.
How about like a comedy, like a buddy cop comedy? How
I
about
mean, we
that?
could make both. A horror would be great though. It'd be super low budget.
It could be super low budget. I'm involved. I'm cheating.
Comedy could also be super low budget, but
Yeah, it can be. So favorite part of the soundtrack, I love the theme music for Odo Island. Sorry, the ritual music of Odo Island. Any of the music that plays on Odo Island, especially the ritual music and so the ritual music and then just the theme for Odo Island because it's peaceful, but you can kind of hint that something else is going on. Definitely during the ritual music,
I don't
something's going
even
on.
remember what that is, honestly.
I'd have to. I know they've definitely used it. I'm definitely not going to sing it again
Oh,
because
come on, man. Everybody
no,
wants to hear.
no, nobody wants to hear it. I guarantee it. If one person wants to hear it, that's one person too many that doesn't know my tone deaf self. And like I said, when Godzilla comes ashore first, and when he's going through the high tension electric cables, and it's just,
Uh-huh.
it's very. There's nothing going on except those like deep brass instruments, a little string here and there. It's very chilling, like you said. It was one of the same ones you pointed out, and then one of the parts where it's you'll remember it. So there's like a choir, like a children's choir singing basically, and they're showing all the destruction and the ruins of Tokyo after Godzilla came through, and people are trying to basically put things back together, and they're looking for people. It's a soundtrack part called "Prayer for Peace," and you can look up more about it later. But that's one of my favorite ones because it is very haunting, and it makes it feel. It gives it that real world feeling where it's like a lot of people turn to when there's a horrible disaster in the world and stuff like that. A lot of people will turn to church services and religious services, and the music from that, like a children's choir, fits that in a really well way. So I just like it when movies kind of echo the real world, especially if it's a movie about a giant radioactive dinosaur lizard. If and then it echoes
Yeah.
the real world, that means you've done a fantastic job. Napoleon Dynamite against Godzilla. Now, Uncle Rico could fight Godzilla. I don't know about Napoleon himself, but the soundtrack for 54 is fantastic. Um, really, really have a good time with it, and I love that they've taken it and
I
used it
think the
later.
soundtrack carries the movie a lot of the time
Mhm.
because what you're seeing on screen isn't always the most believable just because, it was so
Yeah,
old and they were literally had either a hand puppet, as I learned a minute ago,
hand
or
puppet.
a guy in a suit. And I think like the job that they did with the soundtrack really kind of carries a lot of it and makes it seem a lot more terrifying than it actually is.
So that was one of the things I was definitely want to talk about with you is um the the legacy of Godzilla and how it's carried on. And I think the soundtrack. I mean, Godzilla would be Godzilla possibly regardless, but the soundtrack did a lot of favors for helping with the legacy,
Oh, I'm sure.
the
Yeah.
reception of the movie, and even how it's honored nowadays. So I'm trying to find a picture of the hand puppet from the production. Oh yeah, hold on just a second here. I got you, bud. I know the exact scene you're talking about where Godzilla like deadpans into the camera.
Uh-huh. we
Here,
we cracked up whenever that happened. One of my
here it
buddies was like,
is.
"Oh my god, he looked at the camera."
Let's see right here. I'm gonna show y'all here. I don't think y'all are ready for this. If you haven't seen what we're talking about, obviously, Godzilla was filmed suitmation, guy in a suit with visual backgrounds, mini scaled and stuff like that. But a couple scenes where they used a hand puppet, and this is one of them. Yeah, isn't that isn't that just something right there?
What is is that like a net over like the town? Like
I think
I didn't know what that was whenever we were watching. In fact, I asked questions about it to my friends and they didn't
it
know.
always makes me feel like a bird cage. I know that's not what it is, but it always kind of makes me think
It looks like some kind
cage.
of a net.
Could be a net. I don't know, it could be somebody was crouched down inside of a soccer stadium and they're looking up, and Godzilla's about to smash them before they save the goal from being scored. That's a joke. Obviously, it's not that. So we'll just bring that picture up again later. I'm gonna leave the tab open. I'm just gonna randomly bring it up while we're presenting, just to really make us get a good chuckle. For sure. So favorite part of the soundtrack, we nailed that. I guess let's what we got in common here. H2. Hey, thanks for being here and commenting, dude. It really means a lot. The soundtrack for instance is always good at showing fear, like displaying it. Absolutely. And with Godzilla, that 100% works out for 1954 specifically. And then you have the opposite when you have minus one and how the Godzillasaurus, which is the mini version of Godzilla, is introduced in that one. I don't even remember music playing
Is that at the
when he's
beginning?
ripping up the beach. Yeah, when he's ripping up the beach at the beginning
Oh,
on
are you
Hongo
kidding me,
Island.
dude? The soundtrack there is going so hard.
But when I first watched it, I didn't even hear music. I just heard the loud roar and people screaming, and then I go back and hear the soundtrack. But to me, the soundtrack is great. But like at that point, it was not even necessary because it's just two total opposites there. The music is there, but man, I that part was so good and frightening that like I didn't even have to have music. And
Yeah.
same with well, Jaws. We're gonna go back to that. Um, there's parts where there's eerie music, and there's parts where there's like very soft music.
Mhm.
Certain directors are really good at doing stuff like that, and definitely, Ichiro Honda did that super well with Godzilla 1954 because the music has definitely helped carry and cement the legacy of Godzilla up until. I mean, here it is. It's 2025, and we're still talking about 1954 Godzilla here. That means they did something right or something horribly wrong. But we don't usually talk about cult classic movies and dumb stuff from the 50s. We're here talking about the legendary stuff. And
Now, what did you say the director's name was again?
Ishiro Honda,
Ishiro Honda?
I might be saying that
Did
wrong.
he direct Godzilla and invent the Accord?
Ah, ha, 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 ha. Yeah, I didn't know where you were going with that one, dude.
I just remember it popping up at the end, and I was like, "Oh man, this guy made Godzilla and Cars. Cool."
It's so funny to me. And you'll get this as you go through the shower and the Criterion. Like you'll see 1954, and then the second one, Godzilla Raids Again. It's very much a continuation thematically and tension wise, very similar to 1954, but it introduces monster versus monster with Toho movies. And then, the third movie, it's monster versus monster, and it's a little more comedic, but it's still, yeah, pretty realistic.
So the
as far as like
second one
feelings.
is
Godzilla Raids Again. It's very.
monster versus monster as well. Is that what you just
It
said?
is the introduction of one of the all-time greatest Toho monsters,
Oh,
Anguirus,
okay.
which, as you go through the shower area, you'll definitely see. Sorry, my phone is buzzing from uh, Twitter or something right here. I was shaking my microphone. My bad, guys. Let's
I
throw that
couldn't
in the
hear it.
floor.
So
Well, that's what the shock mounts do. They take away some of that stuff, like me putting my cup up and down. So let's talk. This is one of the last. I think this is the last prompt here I have, but we definitely have much more we could talk about here going an hour. What moment from the movie was most shocking for you, as a first time viewer? And this could be a moment, multiple moments, entire sequences. Just man, let it rip. Go ahead.
most shocking, man. I don't know. That's a tough question.
It's a tough. It's a fun
Um,
question, but it's
I
tough.
I think if probably what I would consider to be the most shocking, just because one, it worked, and two, visually it was wild, was when they actually killed Godzilla at the end.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what they were gonna do. Like I was thinking, are they gonna like sacrifice a young girl, like the guy, like the professor guy said? Are they gonna like find some young girl and like send her out on a raft, and that Godzilla's just gonna leave, or are they gonna come up with some other way? Because they didn't really have anything going for them. Like there was in their meetings and stuff. In -1, in the meetings, you have the professor guy come up and present and say, "Hey, this is the plan. This is what we're doing." In this one, in 1954 Godzilla, that does not occur. Like
Nope.
they're like, we have nothing to do. We cannot come up with anything to kill Godzilla. And then, what's his name again? The scientist guy?
Doctor Yamane Yamane.
No,
Doctor Y.
the eye patch scientist
Oh,
guy.
Doctor Sarasawa. Yeah, he kind of comes out of
Sarasawa.
nowhere.
Yeah,
A little bit of a Hail Mary attempt.
does. Yeah, and they, ultimately, I guess he already had that one built and took whichever one was in the lab to see and found Godzilla, and ultimately,
Yeah,
goes down there and
right at the
sacrifices
bottom
himself
of
and
Tokyo
kills
Bay.
Godzilla. But yeah, I mean, that came out of left field. Did not expect that. And then actually, like visually, what you see on screen was kind of shocking, but also like laughable.
Mhm.
So
It was definitely not a super happy ending. It's like, yeah, we killed the monster, but this dude that we've kind of
until the
started to like.
radiation makes another one.
We like this guy, and he died, so that sucks.
Yeah.
The girlfriend that's with another dude is probably kind of sad about it. So, and the monster's dead, but continuity and continuation goes on from there. Let's
Yep.
see here. H2 with another great comment. I always like how when Godzilla shows up, everyone runs, but you at least have to look or get a glimpse of him before you do. And I'm the same way. I'm not
The
a fast runner.
footsteps
If
and the
Godzilla's
footsteps
chasing us,
alone are not enough for people to want to run. You feel the earth shaking, and it's like, oh, normal day in Tokyo.
Godzilla's chasing me, I'm probably not making it. I don't know how fast like Godzilla moves. And then the 1998 one, you're not running away. He's like super fast. And
Oh,
Monster vs. Godzilla can run really fast. I'm gonna turn around and be like, that's actually kind of sick. Like I'm gonna, yeah, I'm
yeah.
about to get vaporized or stomped, but I'm
Just
gonna
need to
gonna check it out.
you just need to grow really quickly and suplex him into a pyramid, and you're golden.
Yeah, absolutely. The suplex in Godzilla Kong the New Empire was quite a treat to see happen.
Yeah.
And that was throwback to straight up the Showa era. There's a certain monster that will appear later that Godzilla does a suplex move to. And
Oh, really?
when I saw it in the theater, I was like, thank you for just having the guts to bring that into a movie again. Just thank you so much. Some of the Shower era gets hated on a little bit for being kid friendly, but a lot of us grew up as children, like God's we all grew up as children. We grew up as children who loved Godzilla.
Some of
So
us grew up
I
as
can't
children.
I can't turn around and crap on this stuff just because I'm an adult. Like, oh, that's stupid now. Because guess what? When I was a kid, I liked it. And what I liked as a kid, I'm talking about now as an adult. So
Yeah.
it's earned its place and respect. So the ending is definitely shocking, both from how it's carried out and visually, how they do so and present it to the audience.
Yeah.
Um, Godzilla is not killed often. Not often is Godzilla killed. Um, Unsuccessfully, he's tried to be killed.
How
The
many times
attempts
have
to
they actually killed Godzilla?
add it up on my fingers here. We have 54,
-1.
54 minus 1. I think 5 times
5?
successfully. Successfully, and it's always very I might have missed one. 5, 6, low number. You can darn near count it on a hand or hand and a half or something like that.
Yeah.
Not a lot, and it's not always they always try to kill Godzilla all the time, not successful. Some of the attempts to kill Godzilla are quite funny, and I did, I think a year or a year and a half ago, I did a short series on successful and unsuccessful attempts to kill Godzilla, and some of the ones where they try to kill him, it's like in one movie, it's like, let's dig a huge ditch, like a hole, and Godzilla's gonna fall in the hole, and there's dynamite in there and gasoline, and we're gonna light the gasoline
How would
and
you dig
blow
a
the
hole that
dynamite.
big?
Construction equipment. It's quite a cool scene. It's like one of the.
He's huge, man.
It's a big hole. You'll see the movie. It's King Kong versus Godzilla, and they dig
Okay.
this big old hole and like, all right, this gasoline. We're gonna light it up. We're gonna dump gasoline rivers, and it's gonna guide Godzilla to this hole. He's gonna fall in it, and we're gonna blow him up. Like, how in what frame did you think that was gonna work, man? Like, plenty of wild ways. And then the attempts to kill Godzilla, either by other monsters or man, are usually quite jarring and emotional. I'll save some of those as well, like spoiler wise for you, but it's usually pretty shocking when it does happen,
Yeah.
or maybe even looks a little bit silly. But
Huh.
there's two that come to mind that are very emotional, and then there's a third one that comes to mind where they try to convey emotion, but you're kind of like, maybe I'm not feeling that. But two for sure, you're like, dead gum, that sucks. I'm gonna have to shed a little tear here for Godzilla.
I'm still like trying to figure out how long it would take to dig a hole big enough for Godzilla to fall into.
It was about a whole day, and they had a lot of
A
construction equipment.
day?
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
they have the world's largest excavator or something? Like,
They had a bunch. It was quite a large project, needless to say. But this
well,
was
yeah,
back
but
before Godzilla was a fast mover. Needless to
still
say, he
though,
wasn't very
man,
fast.
he'd be huge.
Hey, sometimes you have to throw that. Yeah, it's got whatever.
It takes some
It's a big
years to
monster.
do road work.
It's a big monster. Hey, no, dude, over there in some of those countries in Asia and stuff like that. Man, look, we road work in America sucks. We're not good at it. Over there, dude. They'll rip a bridge down and have a new one up like darn near overnight or the next day, and they'll have you going on it. So they got it going on.
Okay.
They're efficient as heck. Needless to say. Let's talk about shocking moments for me. I've already hit on one of them, but um, when the mother is sitting there on the streets and there's fire on them, and literally like Godzilla's marching towards them. Don't worry, we're gonna be with your father soon. Everything's gonna be okay. Like, oh, they're about to die, and she's comforting children, and we're watching this movie like, oh my gosh, that's deep. That's always so
Yep.
shocking to me, and I can always get used to things, and there's certain things in movies you can't get used to. It's like you got to look away. It's it's always either too gruesome or too realistic or hits close to home, and that doesn't hit close to home because I've never been a victim of a nuclear monster bomb or World War II. But it's so authentic and real the way they present it and the way the movie is that it, you understand, and that goes down to good writing and good directing. So shout out to that. And then other shocking moments. I would say when Godzilla first appears and appears over the mountain and they're screaming and he's like roaring at him, and but even the part before then that I hit on when we first started talking about it, favorite parts is when when Godzilla first kind of rose from the depths during that thunderstorm that ripped up the island, and it was actually Godzilla doing a lot of the damage. And you see the people in the house and it collapses, like, oh wow, because we live in the South, there's severe weather, there's the tornadoes and all that stuff like that. You think that's what it is, and then you're like, oh, Godzilla actually tail swiped that house and knocked it down with those people in there. That's jarring
Yeah.
because you see that kind of stuff firsthand as far as like destruction and damage with like there's been some tornadoes tear up towns and communities that are decently close to where I live, and it's always very frightening to think that could have been you or whatever. And you drive through these towns years later and you see the damage, and then they reflect that in a movie, but it's a big monster that did it, and somehow you make a connection there. So I would say that was definitely shocking for me on that.
Yeah, one of the things that we actually talked about while we were watching the movie yesterday is one of my friends was trying to figure out how you would make something look like a giant monster, like wreaked havoc on a town
Mhm.
and still make it look like somewhat natural.
Yep.
Uh, so I don't know. I thought they did a great job. Like there were some pieces where Godzilla's coming through and tearing stuff up, and it looks great.
Oh yeah. They do man. As far as the authenticity, they make it very believable that this really happened, or it even feels like some of the when they show the destruction of the city and the prayer for peace is playing. It's like almost like this really happened, and here's a news helicopter flying over and showing you the aftermath, and here's a picture of the monster that did it. H2, I see your comment. I'm gonna get to that in just a second because that's actually a wonderful question. But you're absolutely right, and that's one of those things we'll talk about Godzilla. You make the comment so well, I can't even add to it. I can just say, "Dang, that's really, really true." So, yeah. So this is something you're about to be getting into your homework, and H2, your question's up next. So this is going to kind of segue into it. Which Godzilla movie is going to be next for you after 1954? You're going to finish out the MonsterVerse, or you're going to start doing run through the Criterion and the Shaw era?
I don't know. That's actually a really good question. I haven't actually thought about what Godzilla movie is next for me. I don't know. I've been wanting to watch King of the Monsters, um,
It's good.
the new King of the Monsters.
Don't watch the original King of the Monsters. All it is they took the 1954 movie, dub it, edited it for American audiences, took out a lot of the anti-nuclear war propaganda, and really fluffed the movie up a little bit. And it's just, so don't do that.
Okay.
Now, Raymond
Uh,
Burr does give a wonderful performance as a news reporter from America covering the events of it. And if you look through it through that lens, it's not as bad, but just stick with 2019. I will say,
okay.
I'm going to recommend as your sensei, your Godzilla sensei here. I'd watch through. There's at least a handful of Showa era movies I would tell you to watch before King of the Monsters. That way you can appreciate some of the stuff they do, or watch King of the Monsters and then come back and be like, "Oh, that's actually really freaking cool. I see how they tied it back together, similar to how you did -1 then 54." So whichever one you
Yeah.
choose is honestly
I
cool.
don't know. King of the Monsters maybe next on my list. I actually own that one as well. I have all of the new MonsterVerse stuff except for the newest one, and that's just because I haven't bought it yet. So,
I love
um,
King of the Monsters.
so I'm very tempted to watch that one. I know you said I think Godzilla Raids Again was the next one
Mhm.
that you're wanting me to watch.
I would actually say while you're on I would say the high of 1954, go ahead and do Raids Again, because kind of theme wise and feeling, it follows 54 very closely before the shower era really explodes into monsters fighting monsters, and that's when the movies were shot in color, was after that point and stuff like that. Um, it's a lot of fun, and it introduces one of the all-time
Wait,
greatest Godzilla
Godzilla Raids
monsters.
Again is in color?
No, it's in black and white. The
Oh,
first two
okay.
are black and white, straight up. But I love King of the Monsters. I'd recommend watching that. But I would say while you're on the high, don't go 54, King of the Monsters 19, then back to Godzilla Raids Again. I'd go while you're in the feeling of the shower. Go ahead and check out Raids Again. And then when you watch King of the Monsters, come back to kind of the early shower era. The feeling will be the same because King of the Monsters was definitely feeling like that.
Okay.
So we have two comments here. Um,
Let's look at
Number
them.
one, King of the Monsters has more than one iconic scene. I agree. I love King of the Monsters. Ice Cube's son, O'Shea Jackson Jr. is in it, and he was in Kenobi, and he's in the Den of Thieves, stuff like that.
Okay.
And
I haven't
he
watched
is.
any of the Thief stuff.
I really want to. It's on my list. Every trailer I've seen is cool, and I'm a big Gerard Butler fan because I love 300. Because I'm duh, it's 300. Love it. I can go on a spiel about that.
Sparta.
Love it. King of Monsters has a lot of scenes, and actually O'Shea Jackson Jr. is working. Man, let me tell you. I probably annoyed the heck out of him on Twitter. I'm amazed he hasn't blocked me. I'm trying to interview that dude because he is trying to pitch a animated show that ties in the MonsterVerse called G Team, where it's the guys who go around and like hunt monsters and deal with like Titan disasters and stuff like that. And they've already done some
Hmm.
concept art that includes some old school Toho monsters and stuff like that. And I would
Okay.
love to pick his brain about that. But if
Yeah,
there's
that sounds
been
really cool.
if there's been any sort of real traction with the show, there's NDA stuff, and he probably couldn't say much. But if anybody can get me in contact with O'Shea Jackson Jr., like the 5 people that are watching, help us out here. It'd be great. Really love that. And I know he's a big wrestling guy, so he can talk to us about wrestling. He can talk about whatever he wants. If we get to talk about G Team for like 5 minutes, I'll be happy. So just while we're on the topic of Godzilla, we're gonna be wrapping stream here soon because I still gotta eat some dinner. It's like 9:30 or it's 9:20 where I'm at. And
That's late for dinner, man.
I need some food. I sometimes don't eat dinner until like 11 o'clock. I work a weird schedule, you know that. So,
Yeah,
have any of the movies
funny.
changed Godzilla's origin story? If it's not spoilers, yes. So, obviously, with the MonsterVerse, Godzilla is this ancient, like overlord, alpha titan species that has been on Earth for a very long time. Even Godzilla himself, the main Godzilla, is old and ancient and stuff like that. Been around a long time. There's other ones such as Dagon. We don't really know any other members of his species in the MonsterVerse. Godzilla 1998, which is crapped on by some people. I'm a big 98 fan. Matter of fact, going back to the thing here about which Godzilla movies next to you, I'm rewatching Godzilla 1998 because I like it, and you talk to me about it if you
Is
don't
it the
mind.
one with the cool font on the
Um,
cover?
yes, and it's in New York, and Ferris Bueller's in it. I love that
Okay.
movie. I grew up watching that one. And with
I
there's
haven't
a lot of people
I'll
that
have to
don't
watch that one
like
at some point.
98 or they don't like the MonsterVerse. But at the end of the day, those 98 and even the Monsters have spawned, including you, to an extent, new fans of Godzilla that then go back and be like, you know what? I want to watch the old Godzilla stuff, and they fall in love with it. So, at least respect it for that much if you can't respect 98 Godzilla at all. So in 1998 Godzilla, um, it's an iguana that is affected by nuclear fallout due to nuclear weapons testing in French Polynesia. And it irradiates an iguana egg and it hatches into this new Godzilla that leaves its nest and go around and start, feeding on stuff in the deep oceans and attacking fishing vessels and stuff like that. So definitely a different origin story. HU says that was the first Godzilla movie he watched. Nearly the same for me. I don't remember if I watched 98 or King Kong versus Godzilla first because I was young when 98 came out. But like I said, I feel like I owe part of my Godzilla fandom to 1998, so I'll always have a little bit of respect for it. I've got the 4K, so that's why I might go watch it. I've got a good home set up in 4K and big sound bar and sub, so it sounds nice.
They have 1998 on 4K?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
And the Peter Jackson King Kong, because that's peak. If you've never watched the Peter Jackson King Kong.
Which one is that?
It's the 2005. It was a direct remake of like the original King Kong, and Peter Jackson did it. If you've never seen it, it is a masterpiece.
I may own that one, and I've never watched it.
Adrian Brody, Jack Black, Andy Serkis, Kyle Chandler, Naomi something. She's the I forget names. I'm surprised I remembered all those Naomi
What
Watts.
what year did you say it is?
2005.
2005.
It's a loaded cast, man, and it's nearly a shot for shot direct remake of the 1933 King Kong in a lot of ways, and it is so. And Peter Jackson, need I say more? I mean, we're talking Spielberg, we're talking Nolan, Ishiro Honda, Peter Jackson. Let's just talk about some just go to directors real quick. It's absolutely loaded. It's a good
Yeah,
one to watch.
I
I think
may have that one, and I haven't watched it.
I think I own 3 copies of it by accident, but one of them's the 4K, so, like, you gotta buy that. It doesn't matter if I have a DVD of it or not. Um, there was another Godzilla movie made shortly after 1998 called, Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack. We call it GMK for short. In that one, Godzilla is like an old basically, Godzilla is made up of the spirits of all the dead soldiers from Japan in World War II, and the people weren't honoring the on they weren't honoring the memory and the tribute to the fallen soldiers, so they create Godzilla, and these other guardian monsters rise up that are your like King Ghidorah is a villain monster that you're going to be introduced to, in the years to come or weeks to come, days to come, whatever. And he is actually a guardian monster in this one that defends Japan against Godzilla, and he's usually a villain that Godzilla is fighting against. So it's really cool. That one's one of the more definitely twisted origins, not twisted but different. That and 98 are the two biggest, I would say, departures from what the original Godzilla lore was as far as origin, because most of the other one they stay the same, or they're halfway spin-offs of the 1954 and they take place 30, 40 years later, things like that. Like I said, continuity gets a little hairy. Don't worry about it, just have a good time basically and watch it. But the Criterion Showa set is absolutely a great starting off point.
They look fantastic. Whatever scans they got of these films to scan and put on Blu-rays looks freaking great. They
Yes,
look
it looks
great.
great. Now, hey, I will tell you, one of my buddies, he does movie reviews, and he's just a good friend of mine. We've met up twice in person over the past few years. Just a wonderful friend named Curry, Currinator Productions. Hold on, real quick. He's just my dude. I'm gonna shout out his YouTube real quick because if you like just, I'm sorry if I spelled it wrong, Curry. If you're watching. Tornado Productions on YouTube. Boom. If you like movie reviews and if you like like just in depth, he's very like gifted and he knows the technical terminology and what they're doing, stuff like that. And he's just a wholesome dude. He always looks for positive stuff. Check out Currinator Production on YouTube, or Currinator Productions on YouTube. Fantastic guy. And he's a big Godzilla guy too, like for sure. And I don't remember where I was going with that. Where did I
I
start
don't
even
know where
talking
you
about
were
him?
going with that either.
Man.
You got on movie reviews somehow.
Oh, that's what I was talking about. So, oh, that's why he told me. The Criterion set, the glue and the backing, as far as the packaging, is not good in the
Yeah.
Criterion set. So take all the disc out and put them in like one of those like hard disc boxes, or like put them in something else. Don't store the disc in
They
there,
sell
or
them on
they'll.
Etsy. Someone like
Oh, you sent me that.
someone like custom printed. They like remade this set back here, like front, back, and made it on like a little like clear case and it looks awesome. Like
I totally
that's
forgot
what
that
I
you
have all mine
texted me
in.
that. So, like I said, if you buy that set, don't keep them in there. Just display it like the artwork, because that's actually quite large. I don't. It's
It's
like
big, yeah.
it's tall. It barely fits in my media cabinet where I have it displayed. It
Yeah.
just barely fits. So yeah, grab it real quick, Ryan, for sure. Ryan's got a better home studio setup than me. He does a little more live streaming than me, but we'll work on that. Man, look at that compared to his hands like that. It's a really wonderful set, and there's lots of artwork that's inside of it. And
Oh
each
yeah.
movie, when you flip to it, has its own art and stuff like that.
This is on the inside. Whoops. Hello.
Like I said, it's a big old thing, and they did all new, fresh. I don't know what artist they commissioned for this, but it's really good stuff. I absolutely love this set. It's got a lot of cool stuff in it. Hey, actually, real quick, go to Godzilla Raids again.
This is the 1954 like stuff in there.
Oh yeah, yeah. Go to Godzilla Raids again, and then Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla. I want to see those two. I really like the artwork in those.
This
So
is
there you
Raids
go.
again.
So that's Godzilla fighting Anguirus. Like I said, one of the most legendary Toho monsters of all time.
I mean, which was the other one you wanted?
Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla. It should be like the fourth one, the fifth one in there. Fifth one in there, I think is what it should be. No, it wouldn't be fourth or fifth. I'm tweaking it. Something else. Was that not it right there? Am I crazy? Oh, there it is. There it is. It is. I can see it. Yeah, the blue. I love that. I'm a big Mecha Godzilla guy. And so I think got King Caesar. King Caesar is one of my favorite monsters. That he's only been in 2 projects. First in the early 1970s, and then in Godzilla Final Wars, shout out in 2004. And he's a monster that they could so easily bring into the MonsterVerse so easily. I wanted them to do it in the Monarch series, and they haven't done it yet. If anybody is listening,
they might season 2.
I can help give you so many good ideas. Apple TV, if y'all are listening, I will work for darn near free to give you some good ideas on how to do some stuff. Now, just don't go pull them from my channel now, because I've put some ideas out there. Now, if you want to use my ideas, just come talk to me. We'll work out a deal.
Yeah.
So another one here. Is there a most hated Godzilla movie? Yes, and the answer to that is Godzilla 1998 with Matthew Broderick. And
that's kind of what I heard.
And listen, I understand why it's hated. I don't hate it because I like it. And not much to say about that. And it's funny enough, in the GMK Godzilla movie that we discussed a minute ago, they halfway canonize Godzilla 1998 by loosely referencing it. Like, oh, there was a monster attack in New York last year. Was that Godzilla? And they're like, no, that definitely wasn't Godzilla. And they're talking about it. It was like, yeah. So I would say it's the most hated one, but I have no hate for it because I'm a big fan for sure. But as far as most hated, it's Godzilla 98. Gives us good ha. Glad to give you a chuckle tonight. So real quick, Ryan.
Any other questions for me?
Yeah, I do. Send me on the little chat here on StreamYard. Send me a chat of all your info for your current podcast information, so we can have some people check out what you do. Okay. I can just make it. I can make a little banner here on the bottom, for you if you want to.
Yeah. It's just rated ARG.
Rated ARG.
Yeah, you can put that on there. It's on. We have it on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We have video versions on YouTube and Spotify. But I have a podcast I do with 2 of my friends called Rated ARG, where we go through and look at pirate movies.
YouTube, Spotify, and what else?
Apple Podcasts, but it's just an audio version of Apple Podcasts. So it's more of a visual show personally, in the way that I have it set up. AARG, Drew.
AARG?
Yeah, AARG.
Watch this. Such a
but yeah, Rated ARG. It's a show I do with a couple of buddies where we take a look at pirate movies. My friend Christian is he's pretty big on pirates. I think so. We were working on a documentary for a while that was about a pirate treasure, and he actually got to go on like History Channel, which was pretty cool, and talk about that. So he's big on pirates, and I have been trying to figure out what I want to do with a movie podcast for a while, especially after I watched so many in theaters a couple of years ago. But I haven't exactly figured that out. And I said this as a joke one night when me and my other friend who does the show with us, Braxton, we were sitting at an Outback Steakhouse, and I just said it as a joke. I was like, what if we did like a pirate podcast? And I was like, and we could call it, I don't know, something like Rated ARG. And they were like, actually, that sounds like a lot of fun. So that's how we got started on that. If you're into pirate movies, definitely check it out. It's just a straight up podcast. We've watched 12 movies. It's once a month that we do this, and we actually just finished our first year on the podcast. So it's been a lot of fun. We've had a really, really good time with it.
Definitely check out what Ryan does. Like I said, he's a good buddy, cousin of mine now. Whatever. Hey, we're friend, cousins, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Depends on who's asking, I suppose.
I think
Um,
cousins is sort of like a real loose term.
it's
So
it's it's loose. It's definitely cousins by marriage,
yeah.
but not like I wouldn't say it like a negative. Oh, we're just cousins by marriage. It's like, oh yeah, we're cousins by marriage. It's cousins by marriage positive, not cousins by marriage negative. Like, oh yeah, I'm
I
his
hate
cousin.
that guy.
That sucks. Not that way. So definitely check that out. Right, I think y'all should honestly, dude. I think y'all could have a good time getting into just like basic movie reviews, doing long form reviews, short reviews. I think y'all could have a lot of fun doing that because y'all got the talent for it. And I think I like the way y'all analyze and talk and joke about stuff. It could be straight laced, it could be comedic, kind of whatever y'all want to do. It could be a good time.
Yeah, I don't know. They doing once a month, I think, was a lot. So
Yeah, you might have to do it like
I I
solo and
wa
then
I've
just
thought
bring
about
people
doing
in.
something, yeah, solo and then having some people on to do some various movies.
I think it's a good
So
idea. If you did that, we'd
I
definitely
don't know.
shout you out. I would
Yeah,
definitely make a guest appearance, talk about some Godzilla
Napoleon
stuff.
Dynamite would have to be on there at some point, I'm sure.
You hear
So
that, H2? You're getting a shout out. Let's see here. H2 actually had one more comment here. It's an okay intro for me into Godzilla. Watch that and branch out and learn there's way more movies that exist. Yeah. Regarding 1998, if that's your intro to Godzilla and oh, that's cool. Oh, wait, there's different Godzillas that are better. Okay, I'll watch those. Totally legit. Totally a great way to get into Godzilla, honestly. And I would say that's how I did. So hey, listen here, guys. We've had an awesome time here. We've been going for just a scotch over an hour and a half here. And that's about what we wanted to plan the stream. Like I said, I'm kind of hungry. We hit all of our talking points. We did more than that. We talked and joked beforehand. And I've had an awesome time, Ryan. I definitely want to
yeah, man, it's been a lot of fun.
see about doing this again. Maybe talk. I think next time we could probably squeeze in if we want to do this in the future. Like I said, my crazy schedule here. But if we just wanted to hit up and maybe do another hour and a half where we talk about, you watched 3 or 4 Godzilla movies because not all of them take the time to discuss the legend that is 1954. They're
Yeah,
still great,
for
but
sure.
we can probably squeeze 4 or 5 shower era movies, a little light discussion work into another hour and a half show or something like that. Obviously, I won't have the my studio be a little bit different. We'll work on that.
That's true, that's true, yeah. I don't know, if anybody that's watching this, wants to leave a comment, maybe give us some recommendations for something that you would like us to talk about in addition to maybe Braids Again and King Kong versus Godzilla,
Uh,
uh, which I know are the next 2 that you have on my list.
yeah,
Definitely
one
leave
more.
us a comment and let us know.
Yeah,
So and if you
and
enjoyed this and you would like to see another one, I mean, I'm sure we could figure something out.
if you
So
didn't like it, keep that crap to yourself because we're gonna do it anyways. Because
okay.
this is our channel. No, this is our channel. We do what we want here. No, seriously. We've taken video ideas from like comments before. Someone commented
Yeah.
at various times over the past few years. I was doing the channel. I was like, you know what, that'll be a good video idea. Or lore seeker will screenshot and be like, hey, that dude actually brings it. Let's make a video about that. Let's kind of branch with that. This is very community based. H2, obviously, he's been like one of our best commenters tonight. He's just a buddy of mine, and he's always been a great supporter of the channel since day one. And if he ever had a good idea, I'd run it into a video or something like that. So we do that. If you're a complete stranger and you comment something that I like, or if you say something that if it's cool enough that like you inspired a video, I'll put you in the video. H2 actually says doing like the different designs of Godzilla would be cool. I
Oh,
agree. I've actually planned like a long form video about the evolution of Godzilla design over time, but man, I'm not. I don't edit at all. Lore Seeker does all the editing because he's really good at it, and I would hate to load that big of a project on him. But it is tempting. It's something to
that'd be
do
cool.
that for
We could
sure.
talk about it too on a different one. I know Shin Godzilla is on my list as well.
Oh,
So
Shin's crazy. I'm gonna
yeah,
tell you that one
that's what I've
is
heard.
that one's very shocking. That one's very jarring. And the ending of that one, oh, dude, oh, that's another one where they changed the Godzilla origin a little bit. And the ending of that one, dude, it'll leave you feeling icky. Like it's ugh, you need to have don't watch it late at night. Watch that and then go watch like whatever like comfort
Happy
TV show you
Princess
have.
Fairies.
Do something afterwards because that one you're gonna feel icky. I remember watching it it took me like 2 weeks to get over it. I just couldn't shake it.
Oh,
It was very,
oh,
very just very gritty ending. So,
something
well,
something to lighten the mood.
Ryan, I appreciate you coming up with this idea to do this, man. I've had a great time tonight.
Absolutely, it's been a
Um,
lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
StreamYard went off without a hitch. I mean, obviously, the only things that were weak were, my production and branding. But hey, guess what? I'm a lore expert. I'm not a production expert, but we'll get better with time. We'll have fun with it. Thank goodness. Shout out to my living room lamp that I brought in here. Originally,
Heck
this was the only
yeah.
light other than my TV, so it was like super dark in here. I was like, I need it, so I went and just stole a lamp out of the living room.
Yeah, worked
Wife was
great.
wondering what I'm doing. I said I need some studio lighting. So maybe next time we do this, have a little bit of production value. We'll see what happens. We'll try to give everybody at least a 24-hour um a day or two, kind of look out like, hey, we're planning a live stream for this night. And if you come back and watch this later on YouTube, um, super appreciate that because that helps support and grow our channel. And if
Yeah,
you
and
want
I
to be
know we
part of
did
our,
this I know we did this live, but, like, if you watch this after the fact, for sure, just leave comments or of anything that we talked about.
if you watch
Maybe
this after the fact, you
we
are an
could maybe
MVP.
yeah,
You
we
make
could
it this far.
maybe well, I mean, anything that they wanna ask, I'm sure we could bring up at some other time, so
Absolutely. So it's been a good time. And if you want to be part of our community, check out. I believe I've got it on the channel. We have a Discord server with Lore Seeker where we talk. He has a lot of different channels and stuff got going on. It's primarily Star Wars, and then Godzilla is one of the secondary channels. Come there and hang out with us. For sure. Check out our other Lore Seeker channels. Check out what Ryan's going on with Rated Arg. And if you want to hang out and be cool, come be cool. Just don't come in and be a weirdo or something like that because we'll threaten to fight you. I'm
don't
kidding.
be a weirdo.
Just come in and hang out if you want to. So we're gonna go ahead and play our little outro video here. It's just like 7 seconds long, and we'll catch everybody next time. And Ryan, I guess I'll see you backstage. All right, bud.
Alright, sounds good.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us again. We appreciate it. Once again, I'm Dragon M, and thanks for being with us tonight. Appreciate it. Y'all have a good one.